Hi everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the Mediocre Consultant podcast with me, your host, Siddhant Talwar. Here's an interesting question. Have you ever experienced the fun of drinking without actually drinking? Let's find out in today's episode as we hop into a speakeasy bar. Today, I have a very special guest with me, my dear friend Vinny, basically leading Sober, India's first, right?
India's first, yes.
India's first non-alcoholic spirits brand. Hi, Vinny, how are you doing?
Hi, Sid. How's it going? Thank you for having me here.
Good. So, tell us, Vinny, about your story about Sober.
Yeah, so Sober was started off about 2 years ago. Actually, it's going to be 3 years now, with the mindset that let's make alcohol that is not alcohol. That's as simple as that. For the people who choose not to drink on the nights when they're not drinking, right? So our target audience has always been from day one people who are actually consumers of alcohol, right? So contrary to what people think, like, oh, it's for people who are teetotalers or people who have never had alcohol, this is not the case. We're not anti-alcohol at all. It was started for people that, hey, like, today if you're going to have maybe just two drinks, but you want to stay social and you want to stay out till 5 a.m., there's an option for you now, right? So that was the whole idea. It actually started as a COVID baby, because right before that, I was doing F&B already. And the idea was like, let's do something which is a little more different because I think COVID made everyone realize, let's take more risks, like, life is short. And that was the idea, man, behind it.
Yeah. So, it was established around 2020.
So idea conceptual, yeah, around 2020, but we went to market end of 2021.
Interesting.
Yeah, so 3 years in December actually, which is now.
Got it. And I think you were already in the F&B space for a long time.
Yeah, man. Started off as F&B right before college. We actually started a place called Date by the Lake in Hoskas Village. Before Hoskas Village became Hoskas Village. Didn't last that long. So then I moved to the US, did my undergrad, worked there, came back, and then started in F&B called Big Pizza and Company, which was basically a subway for make your own pizza. And pretty much like, you go along the line and you make your own pizza, choose your dough, choose your sauces, and all of that stuff. And, we opened like 5 in the span of 5 months. And then COVID hit, and then, they shut down.
I remember GK, right?
GK, Gurgaon, Punjabi Park, pretty much everywhere.
I remember visiting one of them. So about Sober, let's get to Sober, I guess. What all products do you have?
The idea behind Sober is to mimic or be like, a non-alcoholic counterpart of the alcoholic version, right? So we kept it very simple. If you have a gin, then we have a sober gin. If you're a rum drinker, we have a sober rum. Pink gin is something that's been widely popular in the last couple of years. We have pink gin as well. And this right here is our newest baby, sober whiskey, which we tried to mimic a very smoky sort of a malt, like, something like a Macallan or some sort of like a thing.
Yeah.
So this just came into market in April. And we have an agave coming up soon, like next month as well. So we're trying to make the entire family non-alcoholic.
Interesting. A pink is similar to the one in alcohol you get, like the pink gins.
Like a Samsara pink,
Samsara
Beefeater pink, Gordon's pink, something like that.
Got it. And then it's something really trending these days, like the pink.
Pink gin, man, actually,
basically.
it's been, so gin overall was trending like crazy, I think, up until last year.
Yeah.
And then ever since last year, I'm speaking specifically of the Indian market right now. I think ever since last year, there's been a big agave wave.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll give you an example. This is a bar that we own as well. We're ordering more tequilas than any other liquor. So every other day, my guys are like, we're out of tequila. And gin is like, so gin is the new tequila, I would say. Because I think a couple of years ago, gin was everywhere. You had the gin fest of the world and multiple gin brands entering the market.
I mean, tequila is the new gin. Right?
Tequila's gin. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I think actually I did some study on the alcohol space, and in India still what that study said was I think 80 or 90% of alcohol, or more than that actually, in terms of value and volume, is mainly browns, and browns whiskey is the dominant sector.
Whiskey,
Alcohol,
yeah,
is whiskeys,
strong brandy, like all these things. So, I mean, when we think of the alcohol that people are drinking, even when I say tequila, right, or gin, that's your South Delhi, South Bombay, like, Bangalore, and like, your metropolitan cities. But alcohol is more than that. And I think, contrary to what people think, South is where the most consumption happens, like way more than the North as well, right? And in South, people are drinking, I think, these whiskey, rums. And I think when we say beers as well, they're consuming the strong beers. right? So the market is very hardcore, like people are just drinking to get drunk. Not our target audience, honestly. Our audience is pretty much the metropolitan cities. Yeah, I mean, primarily, to that point, consumption is pretty much brown spirits. And I think vodka has made some waves. I think a couple of brands that came in the market are doing pretty well. And tequila, of course, I mean, we don't have a tequila in India because you cannot call it a tequila if it's not made in Mexico. That's a geotag that they have. So tequila is
What's that? If you can just
so you can only call it tequila if it's from Mexico. So there's a specific place in Mexico if it's made there.
Okay.
If your blue agave is made there, that's why you can call it tequila.
Okay.
You can call it an agave otherwise.
Okay.
But a tequila and I think even a mezcal
Huh.
is a geotag specifically to Mexico. Something like a Feni, I think we have in Goa as well, if I'm not.
So if you don't basically distill or grow or do,
It has to come from there to come here. Otherwise, it's you don't kill it. So even our sober is going to be pretty much called a sober agave spirit and order sober tequila. Though we're non-alcoholic, so I think we can call it sober tequila as well. But I think that's something we figure out.
or one point you just mentioned, I think South consumption in South, like what's that? So in South, basically you're saying people consume more
A lot of alcohol, man. Yeah, alcohol. Yeah. So I think brandy is very popular in the south. From what I've read, I think whiskey consumption is very high as well. Rum consumption is very high as well. North, yeah, I mean, as Punjabis, like I think you and I both, like people think like we're the only ones drinking, but I think that's not the case, right? Like India is vast. India itself is like a continent according to me. So the numbers that we assume or we think is pretty much the friends around us. But as otherwise, like numbers are massive, and like I believe consumption in South is pretty big. And why I would also tell you that because I think even for sober, our maximum consumption comes out of Karnataka, out of any other state, right? So and these are the people who are used to cocktails, are used to drinking, and are just not drinking anymore, right? So that makes it very. And I think Bangalore in general is an early adopter in many things, like everything that comes from the west. I think that's a cycle that I've seen over here. Bangalore is very easily like they're adopted, goes to your Mumbai and like Maharashtra segment, then it comes to Delhi. So
yeah. In fact, is it fair to say like whatever trends are there in the alcohol industry, same for your sober brand, the same trends pick up where people the consumption of alcohol is there, people would switch more in that particular.
from the west, you mean?
No, in India specifically, like if you're Karnataka, for example, even in alcohol, I was reading, Karnataka has a lot of liquor outlets and bars, pubs, restaurants, etc. The excise duty is the highest in India over there. And despite that, I think the consumption is phenomenal. Consumption which is there.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, even sober as a brand, like you see a high consumption in Karnataka as a region. So is it fair to say like whatever happens in the alcohol space, the consumption, even for sober, that mirrors the alcohol consumption?
So man, luckily, like how alcohol is very state specific.
Yeah.
Like every state has a different excise law. We don't fall under excise, so we're present everywhere in the country, and we pretty much sell online, right? So when you sell online, we're selling on Amazon as well. We're selling on our website. So from your top, like from Jammu and Kashmir all the way to the south, you can order sober from anywhere. So we're available everywhere. But yeah, the maximum consumption, as I mentioned, comes from Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, and like major cities.
Interesting. I think these are the metro, the tier one cities are the one which mimic I think the Western culture first.
I mean, that's how it happens, right? If you think about it, it starts there, takes sometimes couple of years, sometimes a few months, comes to these major cities, and then it goes to like tier 2 and tier 3.
Interesting. Like sober as a brand is allowed to be sold at say supermarkets, departmental stores.
Again,
like
state laws
Walmart
are
or
different.
something.
Oh yeah, there you can 100%. You can sell it at any supermarkets or like hyper local markets.
Okay.
Can you sell it in a liquor store? That's like it depends on the state. I don't think you're allowed to do it in Delhi.
Okay.
But I think in the south you can, in Mumbai you can.
Okay.
I mean, even in Delhi, if you see a liquor store, anyone who's selling your chasers, it's always the next shop. It's always your Coca-Cola and your Sprite store next door and never in the same shop. But if you go to a good store in a Mumbai or somewhere, and I think in Bangalore as well, I saw, you get it within the same liquor store.
Okay. Interesting. I think those walk-in stores where you can.
So your non-alc can only sell. Gurgaon, you can sell non-alc in a liquor store, I believe. So you can do that. But again, we're not doing offline yet.
Okay.
I think we're a very small company right now, and the idea is to push it online.
Yeah.
And using our D2C network and the ads we do, we pretty much are able to figure out where it's selling. And then it makes sense to go deep and offline in those cities versus just go anywhere, right? Because luckily, when you start as online first, you have the data already. So we know where the consumption is. Is it in Bandra? Is it in Greater Kailash, right? So if there is a store around there, that's where we're going to push it, and we have data to back it up. So that's pretty much the
This data, where do you get this data from?
from our website, man, because we sell primarily 95% of all orders are sold through our website. So we have all this data that, like, we're seeing repeats, or we're seeing which cities are they ordering from, what product is being sold the most. So I think that data really helps. And I think it is the right way to do it, an online D2C brand, right? Because that data really helps.
Got it. Very interesting. I think I was reading about some numbers about the number of, I think, on-trade outlets, the bars, restaurants, etc. in India, and the offline stores. And I was shocked when I saw that number. It was actually around 85,000, 85, 90,000, or offline plus online stores in India.
Right.
If you think about that number, like, those are the outlets from which you actually do sales. If you compare it to a country like, any European country like Italy,
That could be less.
or everything, it's much less because they are selling through supermarkets, departmental stores also. So the count is obviously phenomenal over there. But
I also think, man, like in India, like a lot of it is organized and unorganized. So you can never really put an exact number to it, right? Like what's really the number of stores that are there, or number of what? I mean, with our product, yeah, I think that number should be about right, because we cannot sell in unorganized. It cannot sell in like a mom and pop kinari ki dukaan or a tape, like, something like that. So I think you're on point with that. But I believe even the consumption goes hand in hand with that, right? We say we're a population of 1.9 billion or 8 billion now, I believe, right? But that doesn't mean that's your that's your consumer, right? Your consumer is still a certain percentage of that. So for that percentage, I think this number is pretty much okay. As our income grows, as and we are growing, I think, and our consumption grows, I think then those numbers will automatically grow as well. So when you see anywhere else, like you said, in the West, I think it pretty much goes hand in hand with the kind of population is there, the per capita incomes and all of that stuff. So I think in India, it should be at par with where we are right now. And I see it growing. I mean, I can speak about restaurants because we do that as well. So we see them growing all the time.
actually, that I think I saw that number. It was around 1.7, the population. And the interesting thing is, like, as a country, we say it's 1.7 billion. But if you look at the targetable addressable market, you see,
It's not close to that at all.
that would be not more than, I think, in crores, not more than 10 crores. Actually, the kind of population you would actually want to target.
For a product like this,
Product.
yeah. So, I mean, unless you're selling something very massy, you can cover a major chunk of the country as well. But the way we price, and we're building this category, like we said, we're the only ones doing it. Our target audience is not that 1.7 billion yet. But hopefully that's the goal and that's the aim.
Interesting. I think lots of people, though, I think in India, the culture is, if you go to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, to get intoxicated and, just people don't drink it for experiences. I think that's the main reason. Either the mindset, like, they just want to get intoxicated, get wasted, and
True.
not really enjoy. I think
Tier 2, I mean, I wouldn't categorize as tier 2, tier 3, tier 1. I think people in general are very aspirational now. Right? So, and with the, you see all these reels and everything that's out there, and all your shows that we get on OTTs as well. I think people are very well connected to what's going on globally. Right? I don't think it's anymore tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's just a mindset, right? I think people in tier 2 as well, someone who is the audience that reads the label. So we call our target audience the audience that reads the label, we say, right? What goes in your body, right? And you want to care about the calories, the sugar content. They care about how much alcohol they're consuming as well. So that is our target audience, right? And they could be in a tier 2 or a tier 3 because they have access to everything that we do. Like, with everything that's happening in India, digitally and otherwise as well. I don't think there's any difference left. I think everyone has similar access, and it's the same consumption patterns. It's, I think, the affordability bit, maybe you're right on that. Because if I have an X amount to spend, I'm not drinking for the experience. I'm probably drinking to get wasted, like you said. But again, that age group is also a little on the lower end of the spectrum versus someone who has already done that. Like, they don't really. For example, I'll give you an example. You must have seen at your household or many households, a lot of dads would come home and they will want 2 drinks and watch their TV. Their idea is not to get wasted. Right? Because that's the ritual that they've just lived with for like so many years now.
this is, I want to enjoy the drink.
I want to enjoy the drink, and that's what it is, right? So, and that is your audience. Because let's say tomorrow a doctor tells you, and that was the inception of sober actually. The doctor tells you, hey, you should not be drinking anymore. So can you tell that person, watch your cricket game over Nimbu Pani? Maybe you can't, right? You cannot do it over coffee at 9 p.m. as well. You're going to be up all night. So how do you replicate that ritual of your soda coming, your ice bucket coming, and having a drink that, by the way, this is sober. So there's a sober whiskey right here, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
So the idea is, man, it was just to replicate that experience and the ritual, and that person can be in any market possible, right? So when people say, "Who's your target audience?" It is actually anybody. As vast as it sounds, it is actually anybody and everybody, right? Because the person who's not drinking is our audience, yeah, right? And for whatever reason, religious, dieting, parenting, multiple reasons, right? And does India drink a lot? 100%.
Yeah.
Do we stop drinking a lot of times? 100% as well, right? And we have like two Navratris of 90s each.
Yeah.
I know so many people on Tuesdays that don't drink. Our Tuesdays are the lowest at the bar over here as well. So we do. It's the audience that gives up drinking from time to time. So that's pretty much what we do.
You mentioned an interesting point about the trend, basically people moving or adopting a healthier lifestyle. And then I think your bottle, like a drink, would have how many calories? Like, is it
A drink, if you pour a 30 ml, it's pretty much sub-zero calories, no sugar and no alcohol.
okay?
If it's a 60 ml pour, which I'm having right now, it's still under 5 calories.
Okay.
And yeah, man, I mean, I'm having this with the Perrier water,
Yeah.
which is again, I think, no calories, no sugar as well. So I'm having a pretty, I wouldn't say healthy, but a good for me, better for me kind of a drink. And if you have a rum, we have it with the Coke Zero or something.
Yeah.
It's Coke Zero of healthy, debatable, but still, again, the calorie count and the sugar. In at least in the mindset, we're having something that's like, a little less toxic for you.
Yeah. And the best way to actually have it is the way if someone is drinking whiskey, say that person has it with water, soda. Is that the same?
That's the same way. So you're not supposed to have it off the bottle.
Okay.
Coming back to it, and as you mentioned, our audience is not the audience that drinks right off the bottle, because we don't do, encourage that also.
Yeah.
But same way you'll have it. So whiskey with the soda water,
Okay.
or ginger ale. That's something that we've seen a lot of people consume it as. A rum with a cola, gin with a tonic.
Okay.
And then it's a base for your cocktails as well, right? If you think about it, what we do over here as well, like, we make sober cocktails.
Yeah.
So if someone likes an old fashioned, we can make a sober old fashioned using our sober whiskey. If someone likes like a Paloma or an espresso martini or something, we have that ingredient and base to make it. So
So do you classify that as a mocktail, or like if
it's a non-alc cocktail. So we steered away from the word mocktail because I think that was the whole reason for getting sober in the market as well. Because mocktail the shuru se thi, right? But people say that, what are you doing so differently? But what were mocktails essentially? Your fruit juices, your syrups, your colorful, all the sugary syrup drinks and all. And as a 30-year-old, if your friends are having an old fashioned and you get put like a blue colored drink that they call it a blue lagoon or whatever they used to call it, and it's maybe 10x the calories of what you would anywhere consume in an alcoholic bottle. So how's that? What market are we addressing? The only market they're addressing is cheap.
Yeah.
So people make money off it. So at our place, there's no such thing as mocktails. If your friend is having a cocktail, you can have a non-alcoholic version of the same cocktail, and that's where
That's a new trend, I would say. There's cocktail culture is the new theme, I think, right now.
big way, right? Yeah, big way.
Non-alcoholic cocktail.
Is the next thing. Yeah. See, so cocktail culture is big and it's been big worldwide. I would compare it to a beer movement, right? About 10 years ago, we were having a very craft beer movement. A lot of beers were coming in the market, and there were breweries coming up left, right, and center. So beer was becoming very cool and craft in that way. Similarly, man, cocktails, since the gin wave happened, that's when cocktails really picked up as well, right? And that has led to cocktail and the rise of cocktails.
So globally, I was reading some articles. I think the non-alcoholic spirits market was around 380, $400 million, growing at 8-9%. Expected to grow for like next 5-7 years. In India, what do we see? Like, where do we see the market? Would it mirror, markets like North America?
Hopefully, man. That's your plan. Europe. Yeah, that's your plan. So you said it was a 300 million USD.
80 odd million. That was.
So I think that's specifically non-alcoholic spirit segment.
Yeah.
Which is a great number if you think about it, because this industry started only about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So it's fairly recent. The non-alcoholic category in general, and I'm not talking about when I say non-alcoholic, your Coca-Colas and your sodas and all.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. I think that's somewhere about 1 billion almost now, and that's pretty much dominated by non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty much the big chunk of that market, and that we've seen already come to India. So even when I have to explain sober to somebody for the first time, I go like, yeah, we make sober whiskey and sober gin. Let's say if it's an audience that still didn't get it. So I go like, oh, think of it like a non-alcoholic beer, like a Heineken Open or something. They go like, oh, okay, we get it. So that has already happened in India, right? And the plan is that that should happen with spirits as well. So the idea is to have a choice for everything, right? I mean, if there's a non-alcoholic beer, I think Jacob's Creek is doing a non-alcoholic wine as well, which is pretty much close to the actual wine. I've had it at dinner as well. Yeah, yeah. I think it's called Unwine.
Yeah,
I think what I know
on one of the websites. Yeah.
yeah, and
Is it Pernos?
Purdos, yeah, Jacobs, yeah. And so spirits is something nobody else is doing, and hence we picked that gap. And I think we have pretty much reached a level where we're able to make any spirit that's possible. So I think that's the first mover advantage that we have right now.
Yeah.
And if it picks up the way it has picked up, like you just asked, the sky's the limit for us, and that's the goal.
Yeah. Interesting. So when you say that 1 billion, is that's like the non-carbonated beverages?
No. So I was only talking about non-alcoholic beers, spirits, and wines.
Okay.
So that should be.
There's a catch to that. I was reading. What's happening is lots of these companies use surrogate advertising, right? Right. So because it's not legally allowed to promote alcohol. So what they do is they're coming up with the non-alcoholic version, like the bottle or the bottled water, correct, and these things. But I think that's also now
Those were always there in the market, right? If you think about it, a lot of Indian brands, I wouldn't name them, but like make it large. Like one of those, club sodas and all. So that's always been there.
Yeah.
But I believe when you see an alcoholic company now making an non-alcoholic spirit, or a non-alcoholic beer, maybe a little bit of it is to do with marketing, but a lot of it is also to do with consumption. So if you look at places like the Middle East, or if you see Gujarat in India as well, from what I've learned from people around there, these non-alcoholic beers sell a lot. So it's not just marketing anymore, right? Because earlier, your marketing was only was specific to like television. So you needed those things, right? But you're allowed to market alcohol on Meta and Instagram and everywhere, as long as you follow the age limit. So in India, Delhi specifically, 25 and over. So they don't need to do that just for the marketing bit.
Yeah.
So it's not just for marketing anymore. And I believe I read somewhere Captain Morgan's Open O has doubled its production even more than the actual Captain Morgan. So there's definitely consumption there.
Yeah.
This is again worldwide.
Yeah.
So I believe it is to do with consumption patterns as well, and not just advertisements.
Yeah. No, but I think that will also change, because now I think there was a recent regulation being passed that surrogate advertising is also not allowed or will be discontinued. So all these people will have to find the alcohol companies a different way to really market their brand, their product.
I mean, I heard about it, but I don't think it was confirmed or nothing came out of it afterwards. Either or, we win, right? So for us, if they come in the market with their non-alcoholic versions of these spirits, the market becomes bigger, right? It's a lot easier to make a consumer understand then. If an XYZ brand has a non-alcoholic whiskey, then we're an Indian-made, homegrown, similar to that. So life becomes a lot easier in both ways. And if they don't do it, and we just keep doing it, life is still easy in that way. So it's a win-win for us.
And that homegrown concept, it's really, even in the alcohol space and overall as a theme, I would say in different industries, really coming in India.
I mean, it's about taking pride in what's made here versus, in the 90s, it was all about getting things from overseas and globally to India. And I think worldwide, it's a thing now where people are very proud of. I think the idea is not I would say it's the source. So if something is made somewhere specifically and it comes from there, then you will appreciate it a lot more, right? So the source and the origin story, even in all our products, we actually use a lot of Indian botanicals and herbs like ashwagandha, tulsi, and stuff that is native to us. It's from India.
Yeah.
And we want to tell that Indian story. And I think that's why people pick on that as well. So it's not just for we could have called it some Indian name as well. But thank God we call ourselves Sober. It's very easy to tell people what we do. But I don't think it's because of the theme in that sense. But the idea is to sell products that come from source, and people take pride in that. So
I think an interesting point you mentioned. So is there any regulation required to use botanical, like ashwagandhas, etc.
in terms of alcohol, I'm not sure how to say, to be honest. But you're not selling it as a supplement yet, and even then you can't do it under FSI.
Okay.
I think you can just buy an ashwagandha tablet off
Yeah.
Amazon as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think food regulation you have any problems in that.
Okay.
Can you put it in alcohol? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think they need to also. Why we do it because we
Yeah.
believe such things are good for you. They have mood enhancing effects as well.
Okay.
So when you're not drinking, you also don't want to feel like, hey, I'm going to yawn today.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put things which give you the natural kick.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we do it.
Interesting. So I think globally also I was reading these brands like Cedar was one, Spiritless, Rebel, one of I think 3-4 brands. Pernod owns a couple of them.
Seedless, yes. Worst first. Yeah.
Yeah, Seedlip and Pernod in fact did some acquisition. I think they have beef fritters there, right?
Could be. I think
They launched this.
so Diageo has been the main player in acquiring and starting this
Yeah.
wave. Because from what I know, Spiritless, Seedlip was world's first non-alcoholic spirit.
Okay.
I think it pretty much opened horizons. Like, I mean, it opened the market for everybody, right? Because nobody knew that you could do so much with a botanical spirit that's non-alcoholic like that.
And it was early 2015 or something.
2015, 2016, they started.
Yeah.
That was acquired by Diageo eventually, from what I know.
Yeah.
And then in the US, there was a company called Ritual.
Mm-hmm.
They also started in about 2020.
Okay.
And I think that recently got acquired by Diageo about a month ago is what I was reading. So I think they've been the more pioneers in setting the tone for this industry. And they have an arm called Distill Ventures as well, which actually promotes like non-alcoholic spirits and non-alcoholic concepts. So I think they've been pretty big. I think
It's the VC fund, right?
it's a venture arm, correct?
Okay.
And sort of like they come in to play right from the start. So just when you're trying to conceptualize and just getting your feet in the water, they really help you like swim. And I think that's been pretty much the reason why these companies have been able to achieve what they're able to achieve. Seedlip was first, but I think they made a big impact in the UK, and Ritual was, I think, America's first, and they made a big impact in the US as well. And I think that's all because of Diageo and Distill Ventures and what they've done for that. You got to raise a small fund from Diageo itself as well.
Yeah.
This was in July.
Yeah.
Congrats on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this was just in July right now.
Yeah.
And small steps.
Yeah.
But I think even they realize it to be a big market.
Yeah.
For India and globally.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, but
I think the way, at least, I mean, I look at it is, I might be wrong, I don't know, but my take is that these alcohol giants like Diageo, etc., are the ones who would really push or like give funding or acquire certain companies and try to push the market. Do you think there would be companies who would be just raising money from the venture funds who are not the non-alcohol giants?
I haven't heard of
in
any
this market, but
I haven't heard of any.
yeah.
I think what these big liquor companies or beverages company they bring to the table is a lot more than just the fund. It's a strategic partnerships, right? They understand the beverage market and they understand all of that. A typical VC fund just wants a multiple to their investment. So I don't think this industry has reached that stage, like a tech industry where you can get those exits, right? Or heavy focus consumer D2C brands. So I don't see them taking interest in it yet.
Okay.
And not going to say they haven't. I believe there's a company in Australia called Lyres. It's a non-alcoholic spirit company as well, which was, I think, almost valued at close to $1 billion. And they've raised like quite a few rounds, and none of them are from alcoholic companies. So they've done that as well. So it's there definitely. But I think it makes more sense. We were approached by a lot of VCs in India as well. Not that we can speak about it now, to be honest, but a lot of them from the South as well. And we did not pick them up because we're not here to give an exit. We're here to like build a category and build a business and keep it sustainable. Like, keep it how traditionally a business is built. And I think someone like a Diageo understands that. And that's where it realigned and it worked out.
And category creation is key. Like
It's key, man. Yeah, for sure. So we're waiting for more brands to come. So you asked, I think, before as well. Is anyone else in the market? As long as they're good products and they're doing pretty much at par or close to what we're doing, or even if they're doing it better, we're waiting for them. But I don't think there's anyone in the market right now.
Interesting. I was just thinking that $1 billion number you said, what sort of multiple would have been on that? Like it's
Lord knows, man. Yeah. I mean, we like to pretty much not go into those numbers. Because then that motivates us into a different direction.
Yeah.
So like we said, we're here to build a business. We're just looking at how a product is tasting from what it was tasting a year ago, and what the next product looks like, and what are the next markets we're going for.
Okay.
And we like to not distract ourselves, because if that becomes a temptation, then yeah, I mean, we won't be an alco bev, we'll be an alco tech company. So you're not trying to do that yet. So
Right. This I wanted to just curious to know like what the customers have to say about, like say your brand or this category.
very vast, man. It
Or what
ranges.
do you hear from them?
So
Yeah.
the customers that have become our regulars,
Yeah.
they also surprise me,
Yeah.
because it is not alcohol. So maybe they're drinking off the bottle, or I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But their consumption is like every other day, and sometimes even a case is like sent to them, like that. And the people who were expecting it to be just like alcohol are the ones disappointed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the category, like, what we're doing, like when we're building it, because the first thing, like, and I think we spoke about it as well, you don't just drink it off the bottle, because if this doesn't have the ethanol, I mean, pretty much that is what your spirit is made out of. You're not going to get the same taste right away. The idea is a combination of everything, right? The same way it's made is distilled in the same way. It has to be similar on the nose, so the aroma is very similar. The look, the texture, that has to be similar. And then when you make it in a cocktail or your mixed drink or your straight drink of your choice, it should replicate the drinking experience, minus the hangovers and the calories and the sugar and everything. So wherever we've been able to communicate that, those that's where we want, basically, right? And the idea behind this bar was also similar, to actually make people try as a drink like that, right? And then again, there are people who tell me that, well, many instances, man, at a lot of events that we've done, where people have run out of the actual gin or the actual rum, and this happened last year as well. And there were some issues with Delhi excise or something, and they were like, "Oh, we have 200 people here, don't have any alcohol. Can you just send some sober? We'll wing it." And I've actually been for those events, and nobody could tell there's no alcohol there, right? So that's a market as well that we've noticed. And because when you put a gin in a tonic and you have a gin in a tonic, you're tasting a lot of the tonic as well. So you're used to that flavor profile at a taste, or a rum and cola for that, for example, right? How many people do you know that are drinking gin from the bottle itself? Very rare. So that's not our audience, right? So people who were expecting that are disappointed. Um, and hopefully we can change that also, but slowly, but surely.
I think even like say people go for like in outside India, this is a concept of business lunches, etc.
Right.
So if you're out with your colleagues or something, and
You'll have
you have to go back to work, so they'll probably want something non-alcoholic.
See, that's how it became popular in the West, right? It was not about getting drunk,
Yeah.
but it was about having a drink, right? At corporate events. Part of our strategy is do whatever you do in life, right? But do it sober, then there is a chance, right? So, small examples, if you're, how many times have you gone on corporate lunches with your bosses and you ended up getting wasted? And you probably ended up saying something you were not supposed to say. And then the next morning, you're just regretting it, right? Do it sober. You're not going to think of it like that ever again. Uh, but if it's a night out with your buddies and someone's probably getting married, it's a bachelor night or something, and he wants you to get wasted at 5 a.m., go for it. Like, so we're not telling you to be anti-alcohol at all. But yeah, they're just choose your moments, choose your spirits, and choose sober. So that's pretty much that's the ethos, and that's what I try to put it out there.
Right. And I think what is really key is one is the reach, which of course I've seen, I think sober at a couple of bars now, where you have a presence across bars. And I think the second point or the second aspect is just to understand from the bar owners that how is it just sitting on the shelf or it's actually selling.
Great question, man. So I have actually seen sober a lot of bars as well. We have never sold to a single restaurant or a bar ever in our lives, right? Directly. Like, hey, put sober on your menu or something like that. A lot of times you don't get to know also, because the way it works is you can buy it online, like I said, right? So let's say Sid is an owner of a bar. You go online and you buy 6 of our bottles, and you're opening a new bar and just place it there, right? You're not going to reach out to the founder. I'm not going to know you have a restaurant. You never mention over there a restaurant. You mention your address somewhere in Delhi, and then it goes to you. And then one of my friends will go to a restaurant, and I'll end up being in a restaurant. I'll see sober there. And it'll say sober menu, sober cocktails as well. That has pretty much been the case. I don't think, like, we're there yet to just start pushing it to the consumers yet. Then it'll sit in the shelves, because it's a new product, right? If you don't know what to do with it, I don't want to push it down your throat as well, right? there needs to be some training, some master classes. And a reason why this bar works like that as well is that the sky's the limit what you can do with it, right? And for the longest time, it was a one-man company until July of this year. It was just me. So I'm not like, going door to door yet and telling them, hey, you should do it. The idea is to have the home consumer try it first, because I think that's where the consumption starts. They get to know what it is. And then we've seen a lot of places where people go and they go like, hey, I'm not drinking. Acha bhai, aap your sober jan hai kya? And we've got that here as well. And as soon as we say yes, the game changes entirely. So Horeca will be slow, but it is our next target as well, because that's sampling. In FMB, you can sell the concept on Instagram. You can sell the idea on your website, but you got to sell the product. And that happens in store, on premise, at Horeca. So that's our next market for sure.
And what would also be interesting is, say you're like someone has sober on the menu,
Right.
and you like as a group they're just ordering a couple of things. Maybe there's a partnership where just to push the product, you like saying maybe sober comes with something, you get this as an add-on or something.
You can do that with alpha.
For someone who's not drinking, maybe like
You can do it like that for sure. Yeah, that's one way of like marketing. But then again, you might just get lost as a 1+1 offer. Like, sometimes you buy something from a grocery store and there's a mini that comes for free. That goes in the trash. You were never buying that. So we don't want to be that. But there are multiple ways we're thinking. We're actually partnering with some great industry experts who we believe really set the couple of things I'll tell you actually. Bars these days that open up are trying to be part of world's top 500, 100, Asia's 50 and all that. No one's taking you seriously if you don't have a good non-alcoholic cocktail program. You can no longer sell them just juices and syrups, right? Hence, they reach out to us. Because if you're opening a bar with the mindset that, hey, I want to make a difference, you want sober on your menu. So that's the pull marketing that's already happening for us already. And since those are overachievers according to us, if they end up putting us on the menu, the bar next door wants it too. So that's going to be the effect that's going to follow. And I think we've seen that follows. So in places like Mumbai, I was just there about a couple of weeks ago. Any new bar I went to, I was not drinking, right? So I'm like, hey, do you have something that I can drink? And they're like, we have this brand called Sober. It's India's first non-alcoholic gin, and we have a rum product as well. Did they make the best cocktails? Maybe not, right? Because no one trained them, no one told them how to make it. And that's where we want to push now. So the idea is not to make them your customers. The idea is to make them your loyal customers. And that's what we're going to do with them now. All right. Because just to sell it, I think we can do it multiple ways.
And how do you really sell it? Like if a bar owner like wants a sober,
So if they bought it online,
Right.
like an owner,
okay,
couple of, let's say you did it 6 bottles in a month and 6 bottles another month, and now you see it moving.
Okay.
You'll send us an email typically.
okay,
You tell them that, hey, I have a restaurant and it's been moving fast. Can I just buy direct from you? And then we have our own distribution. We sell it direct. And then there are different rates for them. And that's how it works from there.
D2C was key, like in them try.
Always, because D2C is where the, how do I put it? Like that's where they find it out. Like, that's where the discovery happens. And that's pretty much everything. On 95% of our business, like I said.
So that means there is some marketing. Obviously, there's a push on the marketing.
Correct.
Front
Correct. Yeah.
to reach the target. Or
Which works out better than hiring people and placing a bag on their shoulders and sending them door to doors, because it's not something everyone understands right away, right? But the way I explain it, probably people understand it better. So maybe through this podcast and doing more content like this, we hope to reach a larger audience.
Interesting. And what about Q-commerce as as a channel? Say selling on Blinkit or
So we're actually working on RTD soon, like ready to drink cans,
Yeah.
whiskey soda, gin and tonic, or rum and
Yeah.
cola. That segment, maybe yes, we'll chase quick commerce maybe. With this right now, we're so new. I don't see the market being that, hey, I want my sober in the next 10 minutes or I'm going to die. It's not going to happen, right? But where I think there is a big market for quick commerce, and where we've seen when people are hosting parties, they're getting their party supplies. And, it is part of the trend now that 1 in 4 is not drinking. Right? So when you show everybody, hey, this is my whiskey from Japan, I got this scotch from Scotland, I have this, whatever, and someone goes like, bro, but I don't drink. What do you have for me? You can go on a quick commerce site and in 10 minutes you have a sober. So that is again one of our ambition as well. We're not there yet.
Because why I was mentioning this was like really nice insight, which I spoke with a couple of people. What they really had to tell me, or what they told me, in fact, was the RTD category. In India, I didn't know that there is actually JD Coke coming in cans.
In alcoholic RTD is
in alcohol, yeah, in alcohol. But the only reason why they're not really picking up is you want to go to an offline store to buy that.
Correct.
So you really need that quick commerce or
Which you can't-
markets, but that's not allowed.
Yeah.
So for a brand like yours, like a non-alcoholic, if something like a non-alcoholic RTD sort of thing comes, that'll be an interesting space.
Yeah, man, because RTD for alcoholic, how do you, if you want like a JD Coke, like you said, whatever, you want it now, right? And we don't have the most experiential liquor stores anyway.
Yeah.
And we don't have those refrigeration as well.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen, right? So, and again, margins are very, very low.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Yes, I think now since we're in your bar, I just thought, let's get some insights on the speakeasy bar concept, the industry in India, what it is like. Although I'll be, you can just touch upon it. I'm planning to do, an in-depth sort of episode with some more guests joining in. But I mean, since we're here at somewhere nowhere,
Correct.
so yeah, we'd love to know about what speakeasy bars are, first of all. Like, what's the concept like?
So I would not jump into the industry, but for us, it's more of a passion project.
Okay.
And traditionally, if you mean like if you're asking what a speakeasy was,
Yeah.
then it was pretty much around the prohibition era when alcohols were like alcohol was banned in the US, and then there were secret entrances and alleyways where you could still get it. It could be behind a laundromat, it could be behind something selling something else, so the facade was something else.
Yeah.
And then inside that you could have alcohol. That was a traditional um, meaning or the concept behind it. What we're trying to do is along those lines for sure, but we're not in prohibition, thank God. But the idea is to create an experience, right? So for me, speakeasy is not a term, but it's an experience that we're trying to build for people, right? So um, people go for good cocktails, people go for good food, but I think more or less people go for the overall vibe, right? And that vibe comes from what you give them. And that's how speakeasy comes into play, where you don't know what you're going to expect when you come there. And that's the initial job, right? So like you'll come here once, you'll come here twice, you bring your friends, you'll keep coming here. But then if your product is solid, like what we have, a crazy cocktail program, a good bar bite menu as well, people come back again and again. And that was the whole idea. And what's our facade or what's the front? We actually wanted to do a vinyl record and a cigar shop, right? And it just happened to be that we're not going to sell just vinyls and cigars because you can buy them online as well now. But where do you see a good cigar store or a vinyl store anymore, right? So the idea was to create that also, and that's actually called Vinegar. So vinyls and cigars, if you combine the two, that's actually called Vinegar. And then we were like, you know what? Okay, this should take us to somewhere, or maybe it takes us nowhere. And that's how Somewhere Nowhere Speakeasy came into play. And then we connected the dots where a lot of listening bars were coming up in Japan, in Tokyo, and like also in like New York actually. So we connected that vinyls could be a good connect with like the whole bar ecosystem as well. And that's how Somewhere Nowhere was launched about 3-4 months ago now. 3 months actually.
Think in Europe also, like the concept of speakeasies is where there's just a door sort of a thing, and you just
So again, those are the speakeasies that are doing it for the experience.
yeah.
Right? I don't think they also face a prohibition like that. Right? That was only primarily in the US.
Yeah.
Uh,
In
and I
New York
think
is
even New York, I think it became some of them, and I think have been there ever since the test of time, right?
yeah.
But it's all about experience, right? I think um, high concepts, like people really crave that. If you're actually going to spend an X amount, get ready, go out, like do all that effort. We should give you an experience more than just, hey, this is your drink and have it and go home, right? So that's the whole idea behind creating experiences. Speaky is just a term that people are just being aware of, but it's an experience according to me. So we actually don't sell ourselves as a speakeasy in any way, right? We're a speakeasy concept maybe, but it's beyond that. Yeah.
And in Delhi or say in India, how many such bars would be there? Like, are there many or
I know for a fact PCO is the one that really started the wave about 10 years ago or like a decade ago in Masandiyar. I have seen a lot of bars calling themselves speakeasies,
no?
but you see the board right at the entrance. They welcome you and they tell you welcome to XYZ place as well. So here it doesn't say summon over anywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have come here as well, and then they see the Instagram, and they go like, "Hey, like I want to go check it out," and then they come here and they realize I've been here because we don't write summon over anywhere, right? So the idea is to create that mystery.
Yeah.
So if you ask me if any other bar has done that, I don't think so. But are there speakeasy others ways? Yeah, I think we keep they keep putting us on lists of 9 speakeasies to check out, and we're one of them, and 8 others that I don't even know why they're there on the list. But yeah, so I think they're there for sure.
So someone has just coined the term speakeasy, but it's up to people.
It's just
how
the
they-
term that people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a hidden jazz bar could be a speakeasy. I
Yeah.
think a couple of them are categorized as
Yeah.
that. Someone who's not promoting themselves could be a speakeasy.
Yeah.
So all meanings are every meaning is correct, right? But we follow the typical traditional route of keeping it as mysterious as it can get, and I think having no board outside also,
Yeah.
like it's pretty much like the true experience of a speakeasy that we're trying to give you. Yeah,
And what really I think drives the success of a speakeasy? Is it like the bartender, the chef has to be something,
all of it,
and or
all of it. So
like any other restaurant or bar?
so the experience is number one,
Yeah.
right? So I go to this bar and only I know about it because it's not promoted anywhere. There's no board, there's nothing.
Yeah.
I get that personalized feeling that, hey, I know something in my neighborhood that I want to take my friends to now, right? So that's step number one. When you enter the bar, your mixologists have to make a cocktail that really, like, they enjoy, right? So that makes step number two that, hey, I know a bar and they also have great cocktails. Typically, that's where I wanted to end it. But then we like to eat with our cocktails, which is a very Indian thing, I think. So then you also want to have some bites with it. So we have a cool Japanese izakaya bites kind of a setup where, hey, like, you can also munch on something. So it's a whole package that makes it a success. And luckily, we've been able to do that.
Yeah. Great. I think there was one thing I tried on a menu last time, and
Pick anime.
some Japanese drink.
Yeah, pick anime. Yeah. So it's our version of, it's our take on a picante, but instead of giving you tequila, we make it with whiskey. And we top it off with like a smoky malt, like a Lefroy.
Had a very different taste, like a
Yeah.
nice, not a different way, but,
Yeah,
but
or like
not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah. Oh no, that one could have been a hojicha highball.
Okay.
So we have a lot. So we have drinks which are the usuals,
Yeah.
which we categorize as, hey, like you're used to them.
Yeah.
And then we have certain drinks which are, I mean, the idea was to go very savory as well,
Yeah.
but I don't think we're ready for that yet. But then there are some drinks on the menu which are an acquired taste. But then again, so is sushi, right? That was an acquired taste when it came first to India, but now everybody loves it. There's vegetarian sushi that sells. So
Yeah.
so that was the idea.
In fact, I heard from a few people, and when I went to, the US, there was this bar, I can't recall the name. What they really did was they had a subscription or a membership plan where, you go to that bar, you just have a card or something. They give you a card and you can, you buy a bottle, purchase a bottle.
Yeah.
They store it for you. Yeah, they store it for you. You basically,
Very popular.
and
like,
you consume it, the next time you come. It's like they've stored it at some space for you.
works in the US and they work here. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a hard time convincing people to buy OTD subscriptions, which we love to consume.
Yeah.
But we still don't do it.
Yeah.
So subscription model don't work in India.
Yeah.
It has never worked in India.
Not even with the cream crowds.
It doesn't work with anything, right? I mean, where people are hoping that I'll convert people into loyal subscribers,
Yeah.
then no, we just go for a better deal wherever we can get it. A, and then B, I think real estate is another thing where like Americans tend to make things grand, right? They have a lot of room in their big restaurants and bars where they can keep those cabinets. If we start stocking up alcohol for everybody here, and I don't even know if that's allowed by excise, then yeah, I mean, then again, they will only drink that bottle. What money are you making off it? So yeah, that's something that we haven't touched upon. And I think even members only clubs haven't really worked according to me.
Yeah.
It's good like initially,
Yeah.
but again, it's if you can do those simple 3 things,
Yeah.
experience, your cocktail program, and your food, you have a winner.
It was a different marketing. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And in terms of, say, in terms of a success of a bar like this, is it similar to, it's like, lots of people say opening a restaurant is actually one of the most difficult things to run a successful restaurant.
Yeah, because they shut, right? 9 in every 10.
Exactly. It is one of the most hardest businesses to be in if you think about it.
Again, man, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to comment on it as a full-time business because I haven't really chased it that well.
Yeah.
But it's a good lifestyle business to have if you can create a good small passive income from it.
Yeah.
and that's what I try to do with it.
Yeah.
But if you speak about someone who's just focusing on restaurants and
Yeah.
like bars, they really have to put a lot more than most of the businesses. I mean, it seems easy, but I can tell you it's one of the most. It's the toughest job.
Do you think like passion is key? Like, I mean, if you're not passionate about, drinks or food in general,
100%.
then I mean,
But again, you don't need to be a chef to know your food.
yeah.
You need to be a good consumer who knows good food, and you don't need to be an alcoholic to know what's a good cocktail. But passion is there to, yeah, like I said, you need to be passionate about creating that experience and creating an overall package, and that does the job.
Interesting. Think one last thing, just in terms of restaurants, like just for the audience, it would be good to know. Typically, 70-80 seater sort of a restaurant. Typically, in the restaurant space, what is the typical investment that goes and the payback periods for what sort of
It varies, man.
Yeah.
So 70-80 seater would be a good size place,
Yeah.
I would say. We're just 30 seats here.
Uh-huh.
That would vary for sure.
Yeah.
But it depends on the state because your licenses fees, it changes from every state as well.
Okay.
And then it depends on the location because you're paying those 6-month deposits to the landlord, and all those things. So that really adds up a lot of your total chunk because your building costs and your civil structures and furniture is pretty much same everywhere.
Yeah.
But whatever you invest in it, your typical payback should be less than 2 years for it to be successful.
That's like a thumb rule sort of a thing. Yeah. Interesting. And in terms of licenses, bar licenses and all, what's really the thing in India? I mean,
We want to do a very whole another podcast episode.
that. So I've heard it's one of the biggest challenge. Like,
I mean, they make it a challenge. I don't think they try to make it easier for anybody. But I
I
guess
was saying it's what 50 plus counts. Licenses you need to open
a lot of licenses, man. Yeah, a lot of licenses. It's a lot easier to do. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't get on it, but yeah, to open a bar where you want to sell
Yeah.
alcohol to somebody,
Yeah.
there's a whole set of licenses. Sure, yeah. And that makes it
We'll cover that in a separate session.
100%, man. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Okay, great.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
This is great. Thank you so much. Yes, man. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you for watching this episode. We'll have something interesting, some more episodes coming shortly. Stay tuned. Do let us know in the comments section what you think about this podcast. I would love to have your insights.